So, if you want a faster computer, surely you just bump up the clock speed. Let's have a little look at this on the Raspberry Pi. So on the Raspberry Pi, unlike a lot of other computers, it actually gives you the option to overclock. And this is the configuration tool of the Raspberry Pi. It says here, configure overclocking for you. Now when I actually click that, it complains at me. It's a little warning. And it says, beware that overclocking may reduce the lifetime of your Raspberry Pi. If overclocking at a certain level causes instability, try a more modest overclock. So it's really saying, you can overclock this computer, but there may be effects, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a while. I'm going to say OK, because I'm quite happy with that. And then I've got 5 options. And that's an overclock of none, which means just leave it as it was. And you can see that the Raspberry Pi normally runs at 700 megahertz. That's 700 million instructions per second. And then I've got modest, medium and high and turbo overclocks. By the time I get down to turbo, I've got 1000 megahertz, which is a gigahertz. And I've also got my RAM is overclocked, and I'm also starting to increase the voltage in parts of that computer, because if you start to overclock and you don't give it enough voltage, then it will probably fall over, it will probably fail. So I can go down here and I can select a medium overclock, and it's actually set it to medium, and now I can reboot my Raspberry Pi. Reboot now, yes. And it will actually go through the whole boot system. So now I've actually made my Raspberry Pi a bit faster by increasing the clock speed of the CPU. Now, there can be a problem with that. If I overclock too high, I can cause instability, the system might crash, it might overheat, and although I get something for free, it's nice to have that extra speed, and I have actually paid for it. It might be, as it said, not last as long, or it might actually just not work completely. So there's trade-offs there, there's advantages and disadvantages to making that overclock. And although it looks like there is no difference now, if I actually went and tested the speed of that Raspberry Pi, we'd find out that it's actually a little bit faster. We'd also find out that the CPU is slightly hotter. And another problem with overclocking, if I go too far, I can generate a lot of heat in the processor, and I need something to deal with that, so extra fans or heat sinks or something like that.